This is a review done by IGN. Watch the skill up review. Listen, I feel like a lot of the videos are gonna pretty much say the same thing. Elden Ring is good. The world is open. There are cool things to do in the world. You can do a lot of things. You can play a lot of different ways. The game looks good. Wow, you can ride on a horse? That's fun. All right, let's go ahead and look at this. Here we go. Wow, that's a lot bigger than what I thought it was. Holy shit.
In the 87 hours that it took me to beat Elden Ring, I was put through an absolute ringer of emotion.
Okay.
A fair amount of sorrow for the hundreds of thousands of lost EXP stolen by some of the toughest boss encounters From Software has ever conceived. A lot of anger, especially at these assholes. Ooh, I hate these guys. And exhilaration from finally getting through that battle.
Wait
that
a
I had
second.
been stuck on.
Sorry, I had to respond to a very important message, a very important comment, a very important thing. What was this attack here?
Conceived. A lot of anger, especially at these assholes. Ooh, I hate these guys.
Oh, yeah.
And exhilaration from finally getting through that battle that I had been stuck on.
That's
for
a cool
an
looking
hour.
boss.
But more than anything else, I was in near constant awe from the many absolutely jaw-dropping vistas, by the sheer scope of an absolutely enormous world, by the frequently harrowing enemies, and by the way in which Elden Ring nearly always found a way to reward my curiosity.
I really like how they have like these patrols moving around because it makes it feel like it's a living world rather than just like having the NPCs sitting there stagnant, but you have patrols moving around. It creates a living world. I like this a lot.
With either an interesting encounter,
that's the bear, dude. We've seen him before.
Reward, or something even greater.
That is so fucking
cool. From Software takes the ball that The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild got rolling and runs with it, creating a
I feel like Breath of the Wild was definitely it was a paradigm shift for a lot of these open world games, and it's kind of like how it's like after Breath of the Wild, like every game that's open world like this is judged, like Genshin Impact, like Elden Ring even, like they're judged based off of that gold standard.
A dense open world about freedom and exploration above all else, while also somehow managing to seamlessly weave a full-on Dark Souls game into the middle.
Not a bird.
It shouldn't be a surprise to anyone that Elden Ring ended up as one of the most unforgettable gaming experiences I've ever had.
Okay, here we go. Let's see it. Put a ring on it. That's cute. We don't need to show him. Let's not look at him, guys.
To set the stage, all you know from the outset is that you play as a tarnished of no renown, blessed by grace, and are compelled to make the journey to the lands between and become an Elden Lord. What that actually means, how one might go about doing that, and what the deal is with that giant glowing golden tree are all things that you have to discover for yourself.
The giant glowing tree is actually a added game difficulty mechanic, because if you fight a boss with the tree in the background, it lowers your frame rate substantially, so it's harder to beat the boss. It's kind of like an activatable hard mode.
Like other FromSoft games, the grand story is hard to fully digest on a first playthrough, but it's a story that I nonetheless enjoyed trying to piece together for myself. It ended up being the organic side stories that kept me most enthralled rather than the grand overarching plot that credits Game of Thrones' George R.R. Martin as its scenario writer. FromSoft smartly doesn't change much in its approach to these from the Souls games, Bloodbourne, or Sekiro. You'll just naturally meet characters as you explore and discover the world and become involved in their problems. There are no exclamation point markers on the map, no waypoints to guide you to them, and these characters don't always flag you down or initially want or need anything.
That's a lot of fucking... Oh my god, it's a big area. Holy shit.
Goals, whose stories are impacted based on your own actions or inactions. That was actually kind of refreshing in an open world as vast as this one. And it was always exciting to see a familiar face pop up again later, as I was eager to learn about what brought them to this new part of the world and how their journey had progressed.
There's actually a lot of stuff, like in Dark Souls 1, I know a lot of you guys probably know a lot of this stuff because you're fans of the game, but there's some people who don't, is that each character's story, like Solaire of Vanderhall, it progresses throughout the story in different ways based off of actions that you take. There's a lot of these in the game. It's really, really cool.
Of course, is that without any markers, quest log, or journal, it becomes very easy to forget about certain plot threads and accidentally leave them unresolved by the end. That's a bummer, and I've already felt regret about missing out on stories.
I think that's intentional. I think that they do that intentionally so that you have a reason. You're like, oh man, you know, like it's like a missed opportunity or a missed thing that you can go back and do again. Also, I feel like one good thing with Elden Ring is like if you look at the screen here, there's almost no things in the game. Like the game is what it is. There's no menus. It reminds me a lot of Shadow of Colossus, where there's almost nothing going on in the game except for maybe like a small health bar, and that's it. Like a very, very clean UI with as few things as possible. I think that UI should be as minimalistic as possible because it allows people to have more immersion. Whenever you have like a bunch of quests here and like a bunch of weapons over there and everything like that, it just becomes like a mini map. It becomes a less immersive experience, in my opinion. So like, yeah, I think that's another big reason why they don't have it like that.
My colleagues have had, but for me it was worth it, because even after 87 hours, I never once felt the open world fatigue that usually sets in when my brain gets overloaded by a map absolutely full of unresolved side quest markers. Besides, any missed quests give me extra incentive to continue onto New Game Plus.
Okay, here we go.
Freedom is the word that every aspect of Elden Ring's design connects back to.
Yeah, you do what you want.
From the moment you set foot in Limgrave.
There it is, dude.
First of many interconnected regions of the lands between.
I kind of want to try that weapon.
You are completely free to go wherever you want. And sure, that's far from a new concept in an open world game, but the way it's handled here is truly extraordinary. If you wanted to, you can be an explorer and spend hours upon hours in just Limgrave, delving into every mini-dungeon, fighting every boss, discovering every NPC, and leveling yourself up to better prepare for what's next. Alternatively, you could follow the Light of Grace, guiding you toward the main path and the first major dungeon. Or you could find a hidden path to a new region that's meant for higher levels and completely bypass the first major dungeon entirely.
That's what I think is really, really cool, is the fact that you can go back and do whatever the fuck you want to do. That's the best thing, in my opinion, with these kinds of games, is the fact that they give you the freedom to play in whatever way you want. You can go and goof around and fuck around or not.
And steal yourself a cool weapon early while you're there. Again, this is not unprecedented, but a few things set Elden Ring apart from games like Skyrim that provide a similar openness. For one, Elden Ring doesn't scale enemy levels to your own at all, so jumping into a later region means you're always dealing with stronger enemies,
my god,
making the risk-reward prospect of doing so very real.
That's the lobsters.
Perhaps more notably, the way its different areas are connected makes finding these new ones more than a simple matter of choosing a direction and heading towards it.
I think that like not having things, like having scaling versus not having scaling, which one is better? Having scaling is good because it creates more reasons and more ways for people to play the game. But in my opinion, I think not having scaling makes a better game, because it makes you feel like you're actually making progress and you're growing and you can overcome obstacles by becoming more powerful. So like scaling, there is value in it for sure, but I prefer games that don't have scaling.
It's designed very specifically with a main path in mind that takes you through Stormvale Castle and finding...
I also want to say though, like for WoW, for example, I think that it's a good idea that all of the NPCs, after you hit max levels, scale up to max level so you can do world quests in the area at 60. But anything beyond that is too much.
A way around that feels like you've truly discovered a hidden passage or alternate route, which is a super cool feeling not present in most open world games I've explored. You also have more freedom in how you approach combat than any previous FromSoft game, thanks to a bunch of familiar new systems that are used in interesting ways here.
Yep.
You can crouch walk and use stealth to avoid detection, or more easily sneak up for a backstab. You can fight on horseback.
I really actually like doing that. The Shinobi Master shit, that was really fucking fun.
You can craft items on the fly. You can summon a huge variety of creatures to fight for you.
Oh, this is that fucking
and
sword.
Most substantially,
what the fuck?
You can equip Ashes of War to your weapons and completely change their affinity and skill.
Wow.
The most important element of Elden Ring's philosophy, though, is the freedom to just walk away and do something else when you hit a wall. Elden Ring is hard, which is to be expected from a FromSoft game. But its difficulty surprised me, even as a veteran of the Souls-like genre. I hit multiple points, even all the way up to the moment I reached the very last boss, where I had unlocked paths to several bosses and simply could not make headway on any of them. But even though I hit dead ends on those paths, there was always somewhere else I can go. A region I hadn't thoroughly explored, an NPC quest that I had set aside for later, a Light of Grace indicator that I had not yet followed.
There's always another way you can go back and do it more easily, and that's one thing that a lot of people don't understand about a lot of these From Software games, is like with Sekiro, it's a little bit different, but many of the other games, if you go back and you level more and you get a more powerful weapon, except for like maybe a handful of bosses in each game, you can out-level it to the point to where you can beat it without really too much trouble.
Ever a point in Elden Ring where I was at a complete loss of what to do, and every time I explored those other regions and followed those alternate paths,
you get a little bit more powerful.
New gear and items, level up my stats, or learn new spells or skills that would eventually give me the extra edge I needed to power through a boss that had given me problems.
That is badass. The lands between.
It isn't just the promise of making my numbers go up that called me to turn over every stone on the map. The lands between is positively brimming with riches, intrigue, and danger at every turn. Much of what Elden Ring's open world does well can be traced directly back to things that made Breath of the Wild stand out from the many open world games that came before it. It's that same feeling of starting out in a world with little explicit guidance, finding something that piques your curiosity on your own, doing whatever it takes to get there, and then being rewarded for that curiosity. The big difference is that in Breath of the Wild, I could usually predict what's going to happen when I get to that orange glowy thing off in the distance.
I would assume so.
Puzzle, unearth a shrine, do another puzzle, and probably get a cool temporary weapon and spirit orb.
Makes sense.
Not to take anything away from Breath of the Wild, it was awesome, but that pattern became
it's a little bit more formulaic because it's like Legend of Zelda is a known entity. So like you know what's going to happen with Legend of Zelda. You're going to go into a dungeon, you're going to fight a boss, you're going to probably get a key, the key's going to unlock a chest, the chest is going to have a big item in it, and there's going to be a boss after the chest. Like that's just the way that the game plays. From Software, I feel like, as I said, I played a lot of these games. I put over 1,000 hours into all these games collectively. There is also a formula for these games too. Like, I'm not going to go and say like, oh, wow, there's no way you could have predicted a lot of these things to happen, because many of the tropes in the game are reused. Like, and if you've played all of the games, you will see the attacks that these NPCs use be like, oh, this is the swing from, like that one mob he said he didn't like. That's kind of the arm swing from the crystalline giants in Dark Souls 3. It's very, very fucking similar. So there is a formula for these games too, but it's not quite as defined.
Team by the end. In Elden Ring, by contrast, very rarely did my predictions ever come true. I'd head to a lake and all of a sudden get ambushed by a dragon.
That's fucking cool.
Follow a river expecting to collect some minor crafting materials, only to find a dungeon filled with enemies and traps.
That's really fucking cool.
Enter a cave and get jumped by little goblin men. Or take a seemingly unimposing elevator and find that it just keeps going down further and further and further until, well, you'll have to get there yourself to find out.
I was about to say, that's so cool.
Excursion rewards your curiosity.
Holy shit, that's badass.
That could be a new weapon, a new Ash of War, a valuable consumable, a new creature for you to summon.
That is a big boy.
Or a new NPC to talk to.
That is a fucking big boy. God damn.
That I never felt disappointed by my prize, regardless of the amount of effort it took. But the thing that's most impressive about Elden Ring is that in between all of this brilliant open world design, there are a handful of legacy dungeons that still deliver those wide
Dude, like, imagine not playing with a greatsword. Like, I'm watching him, like, struggle and flail around, like, just, you know, he's so worried. He's like, oh my god, like, I'm being attacked. Like, if I had had the greatsword, I'd have just done a side swing, all those guys would be dead. That'd be it. I'd just be done with it. Like, I don't want to waste time with this. Just get it out of the way.
Levels that Souls fans have come to expect. These are gigantic castles, forts, manors, underground labyrinths, and more that are packed with secret areas, challenging bosses,
that's cool,
and multiple paths that are linked by one-way shortcut doors.
I want to do every single mini-boss. Like, I don't know if I'll do every single one because there's probably so many of them, but I want to 100% the game on stream. I think that's what will be the most fun and the most fulfilling for the viewers.
We're all strung together without being tied to
and that's what I would do personally.
They could probably exist on their own as Dark Souls 4. Bottom line, Elden Ring's open world exploration is a new benchmark. It's constantly exciting, rewarding, and full of moments that made me go holy shit in a host of different ways.
See, this is why
goes, Elden Ring is certainly closest to Dark Souls 3 when compared to other games in From Software's library.
I feel like one consistency with Elden Ring, this is just what I've seen with like the combat and playing it myself, is almost every single downward swing is the end of a combo. Like, whether it's Margaret, whether it's these guys, whether it's that one boss in general, almost every single downward swing is the end of a combo. And the only exception I would say maybe with that is like maybe the Guardians in Ulasil in Dark Souls 1. But in Elden Ring, I feel like almost every single NPC, this is a little tip, right, that I've noticed, at least, if, you know, for at least the bosses I've done, is that whenever they swing downwards, that's probably a good opening to hit them.
Action RPGs characterized by weighty attacks, careful stamina management, and a bit of a slower pace than games like Bloodbourne and Sekiro. The two big new additions are the ability to use a guard counter by blocking an attack with your shield and then immediately pressing the strong attack button to follow up with a crushing strike that can leave weaker enemies in a crumpled state, and a jump attack that gives melee wielders a new type of heavy attack that can also be used to stun enemies and leave them open for a critical hit. They're both great.
I might use that a little bit, but I'm not going to worry too much about hopping around, man. Like, the thing is that whenever you use a greatsword, it doesn't really matter if you're jumping or not. Like, you're going to stagger them no matter what. The jump attack is crazy good. If I need to do the jump attack, I will. But I'm not gonna overexert myself, tools, you know?
But for the most part, From Software has certainly adopted a if it ain't broke, don't fix it approach.
Simple enough.
What really makes the combat in Elden Ring so good, though, is its enemy design and variety. Not only are a fair number of them horrifying, but some of these baddies are absolutely vicious, coming at you with wild swings and combos that seemingly go on forever
swamp.
and can hit from 10 feet away. Yeah, like that. And he's still going.
Bro, what the
Others
fuck?
are more methodical and hide behind their shields to wait for the right opportunity to either parry you or catch you while you're winding up.
That was a
Others
really
still
good
are
parry.
Weak, but can be huge threats when they ambush you with a grab that kills you in one hit. Many are designed to punish those who just mash the dodge roll button without care, which makes Elden Ring a very hard game. But it's a good style of difficulty. One that's less about fast reaction speeds and twitch reflexes, though those certainly help, and more about learning, adapting, and finding the planted weaknesses in enemy attack patterns. Deciphering
That's
those
really
tells and
cool.
acting upon
Maybe I
each
should
moment
use the
of
jumps.
opportunity is a large part of why these games are so much fun.
The combat.
And then there are the bosses.
The combat feels really good. Like, just watching the combat, this looks fucking awesome, man.
Them, but there are a handful that are some of the most visually and mechanically impressive From Software has ever crafted.
Verdict. What's the verdict?
It is no exaggeration to say that Elden Ring is From Software's largest and most ambitious game yet, and that ambition has more than paid off. Even
I would
after
say so.
87 hours
It
of
seems
blood,
that way.
sweat, and tears that included some of the most challenging fights I've ever fought, and innumerable surprises, there are still bosses that I left on the table.
God damn.
Secrets that I've yet to uncover. Side quests that I missed out on. Tons of weapons, spells, and skills I've never used. And this is all on top of PvP and cooperative play that
That's
I've
a lot
barely
of
been
fucking
able to
stuff,
scratch the
man.
surface of.
That's
Throughout
incredible.
it all, while the fundamentals of combat haven't changed much from what we've seen before, the enormous variety of viciously designed enemies and the brutal but surmountable bosses have brought its battles to a new level. Even with all the threads I didn't manage to tug on my first playthrough,
This guy's pretty
of
good at
which
parrying.
I'm sure there will be several, what I was treated to can easily be held among the best open world games I've ever played.
Yeah.
Like The Legend of Zelda
Oh
Breath
my
of the Wild
God,
before
look
it,
at that
Elden
shit.
Ring is one that we'll be looking back to as a game that moved the genre forward.
Damn. God fucking damn.
For more Elden Ring, make sure to check out the first minutes of the game. And for everything else, keep it here on IGN.
Alright, I'll link the video for you guys so we can take a look at it. Bro, can y'all fucking believe we are playing that shit tomorrow? Can you fucking believe it? Oh my god. Look at that. That's the video I just got done watching. It's from IGN. This is holy shit, man. I cannot even believe that like we're gonna be playing this game tomorrow. It's just so. It's like it's so shocking to me that it's actually happening. It's gonna be so fucking fun, man. IGN review is really bad usually, though. I hope they're right this time. I mean, like, everybody else is saying the same thing. I feel like the video is decent enough. Like, just watching the guy play the game, he doesn't seem like a noob player. It's not like this is some, game journalist that's just fighting the easiest boss. Like, he beat the game, he played through the whole game. Like, he doesn't seem like just a complete moron. So yeah, the review is this is good. This is a good review, and I'm excited to play the game. As I said before, I'm very fucking excited to play the game. This is going to be amazing. Check Metacritic scores. Well, I mean, Metacritic, everybody is saying the game is good. Like, I already looked into it and I already saw it. Basically, everyone is saying that the game is good, which to me is like no surprise. I feel like everybody is going to think that, and everybody is going to believe that, which is, I mean, we're going to have to see what happens, but I think that's a good thing. Yeah, it's a fucking great thing. I'm really excited. And a consolidation of all the scores. Okay, let's see. I'll see if I can pull this up here. This is all the scores that we've received, or sorry, that people have received for Elden Ring. Here we go. Your Game Informer's a 10, PC Gamer's a 10, FX Life 10, The Guardian 5 out of 5, Kind of Funny 5 out of 5, 9.5, 9.5, and 9. Yeah, so everybody is just really, really fucking positive about the game, right? That's what it really comes down to, is that everybody is excited about it, and everybody is happy. Yes, yeah, that's great. That's amazing. Fuck yeah. Game Informer says it's one of the best games ever made. I mean, as I said, I think Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 3 are two of the best games ever made. Like, straight up, like, I think Dark Souls 3 is probably one of the best games ever made. And I think that the proof of that is the fact that people are still modding it and still playing through it today. They're still trying to figure out different things that they can do with that game, because the combat at its very core is really, really good. Bloodbourne would be a whole lot fucking better if I didn't have to play it on a PlayStation at 30 FPS. And I know that there's a way to play it at 60, and if I ever do replay Bloodbourne, I will make sure I do that.